Welcome to Now Hiring, a podcast about staffing, recruiting, and talent. I'm Scott Montmany, and I have with me Andy Weiss and Sameer Penakalapati. And in today's podcast, we would like to talk about how to build a high-value staffing company. And really, this is a topic that is near and dear to Sameer's heart. That is one of, if not his greatest professional passions. It ranks up there, I'd say, anywhere. Is that fair, Sameer?
Yeah, absolutely. I always talk about, entry into this staffing industry is much easier, but the scaling the business is, in fact, I always say is as tough as building a SaaS tech company, even sometimes even harder. And the number says that, we have less than 2% of the staffing companies are over 100 million in revenue. Even to cross the 50 million in revenue, it takes a good planning and strategy in the business. So it always fascinates me.
So Sameer, with that, how did you get your start? How would somebody, let's say, I'm not going to do this, but let's say I wanted to start a staffing company. How would I go about doing that? How did you get your start? And we'll use that kind of as a jumping off point to get to that high value.
Yeah, no, I think, as I said, it's easy to jump in to be a very generalist staffing business. But I think it's always good to have some niche, the technology side, based on your experience or your technical expertise, or your industry exposure experience. Like somebody worked in the aerospace defense, or somebody is in electronic manufacturing, or some utilities space, who understands the type of roles they bring in, type of needs for the businesses. That's a tremendous knowledge to have and build business and explore in that space. Definitely has a high value than just creating some generic staffing business. Because one thing, it's hard to scale, and second, it's hard to create a value.
So we're diving into an area or category that we know to start. The barriers to entry are kind of low. So we're starting to kind of gain some, we've got a customer or a client or two. How do we start to kind of build more traction on that? Because my assumption is you don't go from zero to high valuation overnight. Like what's that traction component?
Yeah, no, the high valuation really depends on the revenue that you would build over time. I think high valuation doesn't come by just one number, right? Your year-on-year growth on the business, and your identifiable niche for the business. You are known for what? That's something that, let's say if you are like a expertise in SAP success factors, the snowflakes, or some other new technology, AI specifically into it. Or if you are expertise in building a staff for aerospace defense, utilities, manufacturing, electronic manufacturing, stuff like that. I think you strive to identify, associate to one of these niches, right? And then you build around, because you always have niche players are identified as an experts in the space. And then you go after building the client base and go after building your talent in those space. I think you would rise up quickly, because you are constantly, as we've seen in the industry, when you are going after with the aerospace defense clients, you have expertise and talk to them instead somebody else is going, I can do staffing. It's a huge difference in building the customer. So over time, you build the customers base, you build the revenue, you build the competency, all comes together. But it's a lot of hard work. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Building and scaling is as hard as building any tech company.
So I have to assume, at certain points, you have to say, or be willing to say no or turn down opportunities. What was was there something that strikes you as you were building, scaling, gaining traction that, hey, I had to say no to this, or I had to walk away from this, and What was it? What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I've come across like building the businesses myself, and I've seen a lot of others. If you have a very core focus on building a business in staffing business space, you just really tie to it, because when you are in the space and you may come across and said, hey, I have this piece of work to be done, or it's just a one-off, two-off placement in a very generic space. And I'm just saying, if you have you don't have much margins, you don't have much business and revenue coming in, and it's amount of time that you put in, that you could better off build your talent, you better off build a relationship with those very niche clients. Your value over time is very high, because you are constantly nurturing that scale of the business. And I have many cases saying, I have this project I want you to guys, can you guys work on it? And we said, no, that's not what we're focusing on, and I don't want to do it. And we'd be happy to give you references who have niche expertise in the space. So we have turned down many opportunities like that, just so we could realign and focus on servicing clients. Like, for an example, one of the business I built was focused on aerospace and defense clients, and clients that have facility clearance, and those are very niche spaces. And then you would get their first customer, you would build your profile, you build that security clearances for the business, and then you continue to go after and provide a quality. Over time, you build a team around actually knowing how the aerospace defense industry works, how the utility business works, and what type of roles they hire, how cyclical is the business, who are their competitors, and how you help with them. You build the use cases, all this stuff really helps you to add a great value to your business. So, and I have seen it's tough. It's not because it's not a low hanging fruit. You have to make a concerted effort to build the business. So that's why it's a high value. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be high value.
Yeah. So I think, Scott, we've got the makings of a cliffhanger, because I feel like Samir is teeing us up for the magic sauce at that high valuation thing. And I think
yes, how do we get over the $100 million barrier? I think is the $1 million question, or the $100 million question, I guess, in this case. And we're going to get to that in another episode that you'll be able to find. And also, I think maybe we'll touch on how automation might play a key role in that, Samir, because I think smaller businesses, like we talked about, that low barrier to entry and building through niching and using specialists, but also, how much does technology play an important role when you're trying to scale the business and get to that big $100 million barrier that we'll be talking about the next time. But until then, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to record this episode. And I want to encourage everyone who's listening and or watching to check out the other episode, particularly that one, as it dovetails off of this conversation right here. And until we see you there, we are Now Hiring.